It is February 23rd today, and I am missing class because I am out on a doctor's appointment. So I just wanted I wanted to walk through the class today before you got some time to work so you could look at some things. So first, what you should have open for class today, you should probably go to our class plan document and open up the seminar explanation handout from your Socratic seminars. And then remember that you all as groups made copies of the planning document. So you should open up your planning document as well, because you're going to be using that today to fill out your ideas and your thoughts and things like that. So handout and planning document. Socratic seminars, today we're going to talk about the leadership portion, the opening activity, where I'm going to show you an example of a book talk, and then also the after activities that you can do. Remember, you should also work on writing questions for the seminar discussion. You need to prepare 5 to 10 possible questions. So remember to use these types of questions. Remember, the sheet that I have open right now is AP Class Plans. It is the seminar explanation handout, and you should put all your ideas down on your copy of the planning document. Okay, so today we're going to talk about first introductory activities and opener ideas. So I'll use some of these with the mock seminar that I'm going to be doing with you guys on Friday in class. So this Resistance to Civil Government mock seminar that I'm going to be doing. These are some ideas of what you can do, and you can look through these on your own. So you could talk about the author, like especially if the author's a different time period, and pull out 21st century ideas or concepts or things that are happening, current events, and ask, what do you think the author would think of this as the basis of the beginning? Have the class divide into groups. Remember, we're doing this on Zoom, so it would be breakout rooms, and then have them come back from a minute of sharing in breakout rooms and have a few groups share with the class. That's one idea. Then find an inspiring quote by the author from another piece of writing and use that to kind of get people starting to think. So on Friday when we do this, I'm going to be using an inspiring quote from Henry David Thoreau and talk a little bit about him, and then have kids in class talk about what they think about that. Another opener is doing something called a glossing map. So you try to think of as many main ideas or glosses from the text as you can recall, and have students work first in a small group and writing down all the main ideas or the arguments that the author has written, and then you have them share together using a whiteboard app or Padlet or a blank Google Doc or whatever, and then create an entire overall map of all the main ideas that you see. I kind of like Padlet for this because you can kind of see the ideas spread out across the class. If you decide you want to use this whiteboard app or a Padlet app, then you need to let me know in advance so that I can have that prepared for you for class. You could show a short video clip about whatever the topic is and ask some questions. So this is a short video clip that would go along with Thoreau's civil disobedience, and we would talk a little bit about these questions. What surprised you watching the video? What do you agree with? And would you be able to live smaller and simpler? Okay, so that's another one. So a short video clip with a few questions that kind of stimulate people's ideas. And by short, by the way, I mean less than 2 minutes or so that you have maybe 1 minute to talk about it afterwards. Seek and destroy rhetorical strategies work. So you could give each breakout room 1 or 2 rhetorical strategies that you have found as a group in the work, and have them find examples of them and explain why it's so effective and connected to the purpose. There are tons of other opener ideas. Get techie, which of course we're going to have to because we're doing it on Zoom. Get kids moving. I don't know if we can do that on Zoom, but sometimes we could have students rotate or move around the room. Getting social, so putting them into breakout rooms or in pairs or something like that. You could do something creative with art. So have them sit down with a blank piece of paper and draw like the first thing they think when you say the title of the work and what your reaction was to the title of that work. Have them draw it and then hold it up to the camera so that everybody can see. So think about different creative opener ideas. The idea with the opener is to get people interested in the topic and ready to discuss and share. The book talk presentation that I've included on here is the one that I'm going to be sharing with you on Friday. So this is a sample one for you. I have a picture of Henry David Thoreau. I have put a lot of notes down here in the speaker notes area that I can take a look at and remember as I'm sharing this with people. This is my opener. We're going to use this quote and we're going to talk about it. Then I'm going to give a short biography, very short. I'm going to pick out a few things that I want to share about Henry David Thoreau. And then I'm going to talk about some of the events that were happening in the United States at the time. And then I'm going to talk about like where Thoreau falls short. And then also how he has continued to inspire people in the future, like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., as well as Black Lives Matter and any kind of social or political disobedience or acts of protest. And we'll talk about it in comparison to like Black Lives Matter protests and other protests in our discussion. So that's kind of an example of a book talk for you to take a look at. And then the last link I have here for you today is closing activities. And these are pretty simple. Closing activities you want to think of like an opportunity to reflect on what you've learned. So if you do, you're creative as drawing a picture of how you feel about like the writing beforehand or what you think about the writing. You can also do an after one. There's tons of things on here that you can kind of look through. There's some that we won't be able to do because we're using Zoom, but you could have people like choose a number and like type it into the chat, like, or how they agree, disagree, or things like that. You could do a Kahoot quiz as an after activity. You could have kids write a sentence or an exit pass, final countdown. So take a look at some of these and think about which closure activity that you could use. You could use any from here or any that you come up with yourself. So I've given you some things to kind of think about with introductory, closing, and book talk ideas. Remember that each of these are small, less than 3 minutes for each part of these book talk, closing, and introductory activities. The book talk might be the longest of what you do. You could get up to 5 minutes with that, but remember, we have to reserve 20 minutes for that conversation that we're going to have as a class. So start writing down ideas on the copy of your planning document. When you come back to school on Thursday, you'll get a little bit more time to work finishing up the book talk and finding all the information that you want. The goal is that you are completely done with your Socratic seminar work by the end of the week this week. You were going to submit the planning document on Thursday, but you could still do some additions and things like that to it. But the goal is to be completely done with that so that you can just set it aside and then wait for your seminar date to come to actually lead the seminar. And some of you won't be leading the seminar until April, but I still want everybody to be done by the end of the week this week, so you don't even have to think about it. All right, I hope that kind of helps you get an understanding of what to do today. Look at those different activities and the book talk presentation and kind of start pulling together and actually working on your things that you have said that you're going to work on with your group. Have a great day, and I'll